charge. Meanwhile, we're out of the Pluton belt, which you have less resistance, and so the sun's going to be whiter and hotter even while sleeping. Let me ask how many of you Asiatics need suntan lotion? The ka and the ba. How about kaba and the cube? Because it also means cube, not just the spirit and the body. And the position that they said that's Mecca in with the cube there, with the female cube covered up and stuff like that. That's the estimated place. That ain't really the place. It's not an insult. So some things that people thought they had covered, they ain't got covered. So it's sort of like this. The hunters being hunted and the robbers being robbed. Answer your own question. It's kind of hard for somebody breaking in your house when their house is being torn down. Don't mean they can't do some damage, but it's not going to be too much fun for them to continue to charade. Again, you watch Uranus.
Here's a question from KML. Yeah. Peace, Dr. G, Grand Sheik. Dr. G, is there any guess to teach a bit of the horoscope, explain the planets and movement? I mean, we certainly can get it, but I'm sitting here with this in front of me, which with the
share some.
Well, interesting thing about this, this talks about the fact that the zodiac is broken up into 3 major areas: houses, planets, sun signs. The planets move through the 12 houses, giving off certain energies, which takes you back to the statement that the sun said, "In my father's house." Remember, there are many mansions.
There are many mansions.
Which he was
the
talking.
zodiac was also referred to in our culture metaphorically as the great mansion.
Right. So the planets move through 12 houses, give off certain energies. The 12 signs move through those same houses, and they channel the energy of the planets into certain traits or characteristics. The houses that the planets and signs are in determine which areas of life are affected by their influences. The most powerful influences are from here. That number goes 7 planets, the 7 ruling powers. These 7 ruling planets are the sun, the moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. The sun gives you life and determines your character. The moon determines your emotional self. Mercury determines your mind or intellectual self. Venus, your love nature. Mars, your energy or actions. Jupiter unfolds your gifts. And Saturn disciplines you. There's a lot more, and perhaps we'll have somebody on who's specifically an astrologer that can.
But you can just read
I definitely will do that on Dr. G's official. But it says, here's one more thing I'll add. While the 7 ruling planets bestow their influences upon you, your individual self or body and personality is determined by your ascendant or your rising. This is a sign that is on the horizon at the time of one's birth.
Yep.
Hence your ascendant or beginning of travel through the zodiac in the earth plane. Uranus, Neptune, Pluto are not left out. They are higher octaves of Mercury, Venus, and Mars respectively. It seems that they give you a second chance to fine-tune yourself before Jupiter bestows your gifts. Lest Saturn will make you do it all again until you get it right. Right? Pluto deals the death blow only to regenerate. So there's more.
Yeah.
There's more, but we're not going to stay there.
And see, so the anthropomorphic is where you would give these energies personalities and powers, but that was for children. When you become mature and you become a man and woman, now the cosmological realities of the energies, or Ephemeraides, mathematical and energy output, and Hermetic rule output and philosophy of the Gnostic ones is really the religion. There you go.
And Rashid Ansar, I just see your question, but I just answered it. You wanted to know what the 7 planets are. You got them. Just gave it to you. So,
and again, that's the culture. So when they say you keeping the Sabbath, it's dealing with the culture, not just a knowledge of the 7 days. You know, it's knowledge of the 7 planets and their energy output on the planet. This is why you even have your symbols of the 7 candlesticks, like in the book of Revelation. I heard one speak with a voice of many waters, and he stand among 7 golden candlesticks. You need to understand those candlesticks are presented as representative of those particular spheres or planets in this particular solar system that is part of the rulership, the energy output from the heavens.
Yeah.
And so your knowledge of that, or the knowledge of what Jesus really taught, this is again why the priesthood would never give the Moabite background of the one that they called Jesus, because his grandmother Ruth the Moabitess logically was a matriarch. And if you study the Moabite culture, you'd understand what those golden candlesticks are presented symbolically of. And yet people read it all the time and don't even know what they're looking at. Or the priest never tells them that 7 golden candlesticks represent the people of the sun and moon. The people with the hair like lamb's wool. That's also called Sufi. That means it's not a Muslim sect. It means the men with the hair like lamb's wool, which is the Sabian Moors. That's all it means.
Amir Elbay says cosmology and astrology are different. Yes.
Cosmology and astrology, yes. You can say yes and no. It's an expansion of the same philosophy. Truthfully. Astrology is just an aspect of cosmology. So when you look at the Hermetic law, you're looking at cosmology. You're looking at astrology, you're looking at cosmology.
Numerology.
So cosmology is simply a study of the cosmos, study of the universe. And so when you look at astrology, you're looking at the study of the belt, or the planets and the energies coming from the universe, etc., or dealing with the universe. So they're absolutely related. But astrology, logically, is an aspect of cosmology. And this is why, like when you see buildings, old temples, churches, mosques, and synagogues, they're laid out in an astrological format, in a cosmological format, architecturally. Because it's an expression of the earth culture. That's what it really is. And you know how Dr. Nayo, this is what I keep saying. If people would look and keep this stuff simple, stop making it spooky, and like, whoa, this is really different. It's all the same stuff. It's just that they, the priesthood have divided the people against each other so they can make a living off of them and keep them in what you call a mental state of dependency, pretending that they're saving them. They need to be saved. They need to be saved from the priesthood. And they need to save themselves.
Grand Sheik and Billy Carson ask if he's willing to do a show. I'm not sure what that question means. They're wondering if would Billy Carson come on the show? I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah, we know him. He's cool.
Yeah.
All right. If we, we'll talk to him.
Yeah. So, let me get over here, see if there's any other questions.
Because you already know Dr. G's show is hot. She gets a call from all over the place. I'm not laughing at you, Dr. G, but like, because they putting the pressure on you. Everybody and their cousin's dog want to come on the show. Say a year or so or more ago, people were underestimating you. And And the other thing is that because basically you pretty much have taken the position of being laid back, but they ain't letting that happen, are they? Well, I already knew that was going to happen. I'm not, I'm not laughing at you. It's just kind of humorous.
It's okay.
Because I be seeing the pressure, they be working you.
Okay. Here's a question from Jeff. Should we be concerned about rising crime rates in inner cities all across the country? Do you think it will be getting better, or will it only get worse?
This is what. All right. Remember that the priesthood is doing this. Most of the stuff is artificially constructed.
Right. Yes.
Most of these people are puppets being played in order to control the people's mental state and to create fear, disorder, and disruption. It's not happening. Meaning that the crimes, for the most part, is not just there in society. It is projected like a social engineering tool, meaning it's being paid to happen for the most part.
The mind is powerful. It is, if a mind is programmed, it is so very powerful. And I just think back now, all these years we've been watching, and they've been telling us like this. They tell us,
yeah, but tell you what they've been doing.
This is television program. Watch your TV programs. Television programming. We're programming with the lie that we're telling you, and the visual that we're presenting, and we're programming you with it. And they said it so they can never go back, and we can't say you lied to us, because they'll say,
Dr. G,
we told you.
And we've done this multiple times. I think, and particularly with your voice, being a woman and caring, again, just read the philosophy page of the General Education Board, which we've been reading over and over again, coming from you, a mother, a woman. And all women look at this, and this is right back to what you're speaking on right now.
You're asking me to read that?
Yeah, I want to hear from you, because I don't want to do it. I've done it. I get bored of hearing me.
Do we have it in here?
No, so you just open up the flash drive, just open up the study class, the General Education Board, and read the philosophy. Right on your computer. You've been giving it to people.
I'm looking at this. Excuse me, y'all. He's making me open up something.
And keep in mind, and Dr. G, how some parts of these things and the dynamics that are taking place today with the socialization engineering is that redundantly we've given the people this information for years. And and some of the stuff is being answered for people that are just awakening, but most of you are awake. This is old stuff to you. However, it becomes useful to sometimes remind us what we overlook because we get busy living, and forget that we have the answers to many things, etc. But again, for many others who are out there, that much of what we're doing is to slay their naivety and slay the naivety that has been promoted to the injury of people. Because many people aren't aware, on the surface of their naivety, and that not only is their naivety designed and has been designed for them, and their docility designed for them for generations, not just with the current generations that are being subject to the mind control platforms of the Circle Church and Chancery, known as the General Education Board. And of course, the animal husbandry operations that are rooted within the General Education Board, set forth for human mind control systems. So people, they are aware of the psychic attacks, etc., but not necessarily aware that they are constant and by design. And so they'll look at, TV and the different choices that producers may make of stories and movies, etc., and not recognize or not immediately recognize that all of this stuff was given a platform to be dispensed starting with the general education board.
Looking for the philosophy.
So look at, so
I
just
got
scroll
it
on
up.
down philosophy page.
Okay, here. Founders. Okay. In our dreams we have.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now qualifies for the people who are listening. So
okay, this is the philosophy from the founders of the General Education Board, John D. Rockefeller and Frederick T. Gates, which was published in 1902. And this is what they said. In our dreams, we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. The present education conventions fade from their minds, and unhampered by tradition, we work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive rural folk. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or men of science. We have not to raise up from among them authors, editors, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have an ample supply. The task we set before ourselves is very simple as well as a very beautiful one: to train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life just where they are. So we will organize our children and teach them to do in perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way in the homes, in the shops, and on the farm.
Animal husbandry. Now that's the philosophy page. Public knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many women, how many fathers, mothers, aunts, uncles, who have stated in many public statements and have started many different small community organizations with the stated mission of the children's self-esteem, helping the children, getting better education, etc. How many of them still have been sending their children right to these hybrid Europeans and never read the philosophy page, which is available to anybody? And they told you what they were going to do to your children. And then we think we are encouraged to believe that these children are intellectually hampered by their nature or their genetics, not knowing that we entrusted them to a priesthood who has not their best interests at heart.
Right.
And they're not even trying to hide that, are they?
No.
Why? What would you believe or know or think or deduce that why they do little to hide that? Is it because that they trust and are pretty assured that these parents who claim to love their children don't read themselves?
Absolutely.
Yes. So they're confident that they've already succeeded in their job, so there's nothing to hide. Why should they hide it? The people are held as animals. They're referred to as herd. They're referred to as sheep.
Well, that's what they've been talking about. They're going to achieve herd mentality.
Well,
herd immunity.
Even when they start doing experiments on the people, again, that duplicates the Tuskegee experiment. Do you hear anybody talking about that now? Do you hear people talking about, in that frame of mind, do you see them lining up to get poked?
Mm-hmm.
There should be absolute outrage. They should be going through for their necks. They should have not enough rope, and yet they're doing it again right in their face.
I had an experience today. I was at a new store. Met a beautiful sister that owned, a melanated sister that owns a fruit and vegetable market that they put in the hood where we've had food deserts. Mm-hmm. So to have these fresh fruits and vegetables in a wonderful, beautiful place in there. But I didn't have a mask on, right? Mm-hmm. She didn't have a mask on. At the very end, when we were finally transacting business, she was on like a I don't know, it was like a PayPal type little thing. It was a small thing, and or one of those registers that's like you would get like Cash App or PayPal. It must have asked the question. She said, "You don't have to answer this," and I was paying with at this time cash. She said, "You don't have to answer this, but are you vaccinated?" Something came up on the question on the register about whether or not I was vaccinated. So I took a cue from my dear sister Jenny Pitts, and I said, "Wow, that second one," I said, "it was rough." Right? And I said, looked at her like, "Really?" Because she said, "You don't have to answer this." So it wasn't her. She wasn't asking me for her. Yeah. They got it embedded in there's something in the machine, and I wasn't even using a credit card or a debit card.
It doesn't matter.
She said, "You don't have to."
Grooming? Isn't that part of the grooming?
I thought these people are hell bent.
Their herd mentality.
I couldn't believe it.
Yes, you can. That's the point.
I'm like, they have it everywhere. You can't escape.
Look for worse.
You can't escape this shit. I'm sorry.
But anyway, Dr. J, your comment on the philosophy page for Frederick T. Gates, Gates, and John D. Rockefeller.
Did you get a bill for that, Gates?
But it goes shows you how the paradigm continues. It wasn't even gone.
But here's the deal. But that's listen, let me go back to that, because this is what it said. We just gonna teach them what we need to keep them where we want to, and we will teach our children, in other words, to maintain. Did you see that? Did you hear that? That's what it says. It says that they're gonna make sure their children know what their philosophy is, so they can keep this going. And obviously they have.
Has it been a secret that they have maintained private schools for their own?
No.
And deliberately, not because of any of it, but deliberately priced them out so that the average people can't afford.
Let me read that last thing. It says, "The task we set before ourselves is very simple
and beautiful,
as well as a very beautiful one, to train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life just where they are." They talk about in the country, in the rural. So we will organize our children and teach them to do in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way in the homes, in the shops, in the farm. In other words, we're going to get our children, they're going to do it better than they're going to control
perfectly imperfect.
They're going to do it better than we did it.
And then you look at your children now, right? And multiple levels, on all levels, they are what? Disrupted, disoriented, distracted, self-destructive, low quality culturally. And we talk about, we care about them. And yet we keep delivering them to the hybrid Europeans for an education, to get a degree in animal husbandry responsiveness. And what is stated in that philosophy is itself animal husbandry. And that's how they've been grooming the children. And they're counting on what? That the people won't read. It's there, but how many people are aware of it? Which means for all these years, for all these, how many generations that we've been sending children to school, we've been going to school, getting degrees,
years ago,
getting degrees, etc., paying for coming out of these institutions in debt, and it's all animal husbandry.
And when you shared what the 8th graders do, that's why people talk about 8th grade education.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. You could even share the issue of fundamental orthology. And you recognize that most people with a so-called college education don't never even heard of orthology. Couldn't tell you what it is. But yet that's, as an example, 8th grade education in the 1800s.
Mm-hmm. Orthography, right to it.
Yeah. Then you notice that that test was before the General Education Board was invented for human engineering.
Mm-hmm.
So just read off some of the subject matters, Dr. Naila.
What they were studying. Okay, arithmetic.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks pretty, history.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get over here. What else is there? Orthography, geography, and what else? Health. So these are the things, but
They're fun, but that's 8th grade.
yeah.
Keep that in mind.
See, so just so in case so anybody wants to know, orthography is that part of grammar which treats correct spelling according to accepted usage and the way in which words are conventionally written. By extension, orthography relates to any mode or system of spelling and treats the nature and values of letters and of their combinations. Orthography is derived from the Old Moorish Latin word orthographia.
And so you can see most of the people, including the parents, are not even aware of that basic rule in grammatication. And so when you talk about, the children can't read, etc., the parents can't either and won't. But it goes to show you again how even with the operators of the Board of Education, how they contemptuously disrespect the parents, but you can see why. Parents have been cheated out of the fundamental tools.
And now what they're teaching them is totally like
exactly.
Can you
dumb down? They're already dumbed down.
Sexuality, gender,
exactly.
decisions, and whether you want to be.
And again, what's that? Margaret Sanger Operation for Genocide. How do you do genocide? If you kill the family and kill mating, you're killing the people. See how that works? What man got a womb? You ever heard of a male having a womb? Mm-hmm. You ever heard of a man being a Stargate? Man don't have a womb. So what if you get the men disinterested in the women? How long is it going to take you to kill the people off? If his mind is messed up, he's not thinking to protect her or even to what? Mate her. So as less they have to kill, it doesn't it? It means that's less they have to kill, right? Then the women are killing off the other ones, sending them to burger joints, unknowing to them. That's the carcasses after they've been stripped of their organs. Now that's another fact that our people, the reality of the thing is far uglier than people think it is. They bleed them, i.e. they take their blood, they take their organs, then they get rid of the carcass parts that they don't use and feed it back to the people through burger joints. That's a fact. That's your priesthood for you.
Here's a question. From DD, Dr. G. Grand Sheik. So the younger generation can know where can you find documentation the Moors founded the true Republic and Constitution?
Honestly, Confederation. As a matter of fact, you can. I think who exposed some of that. But you can do research. You do research on treaties. But I think Obama exposed that, and I think even Donald Trump signified that. And who else did? As far as the Praetors are concerned, that stuff is not a secret.
I missed the comment, but I saw I think Christian Gagan said something to the effect that in spite of what the Board of Education's premise is, what they set out to do. Nevertheless, we have had our scholars and philosophers
but it
and
shows you the strength
scientists.
of our people.
Yes.
It shows you the strength and the determination that even with all their efforts, they can't block out the sun. No matter how many chemtrails they use, whether it's physical or grammatical. So the chemtrails in the education system would be called connotative linguistics, which we've already been telling you about for years.
There's a question about the rise in, I saw it. No. Something about the rise in interracial marriages. I know I saw something, I don't know where. What's behind it? The rise, the increase in interracial, ethnic.
There's two things. Well, read out clear.
Advertising, you know,
give me some clear.
Well, they're asking me basically what's behind all what we're seeing about the.
I'll tell you. Clear the questions for the audience. Make your question clear, direct.
What do you think is behind the fact that they're showing in advertising and so forth a lot of interracial couples and whatever? And what do you think? Is that again from a standpoint?
It's part of the social engineering. Number one, the hybrid knows in order for the hybrid Europeans to survive in the Uranus and Aquarian lights energies, etc., that the natural spacesuit, particularly for this corner or edge of the universe, etc., is called melanin. That's a natural spacesuit. Any being that's what you would call mutant, the sun will kill it. It is no different than if you pick up a rock and you find a plant and it has no melanin. If the chloroform does not start generating quickly, it will die. The same thing goes for the hybrid. That's a fact. That's number one. Number two, because the genetic structure is highly recessive, that means the nervous system will be attacked by the UV rays of the sun, which will also kill it and also make it short-lived. Therefore, like anything else, just like they've been doing these rituals for years, they've been stealing children to steal their melanin. Now, things are moving so fast, they're going to have to come out of the box and do what? Try to get some melanin to survive. That's number one. Number two, politically, the deal is the people are starting to figure out that these hybrids, many of them are colonists. They are not Americans, though they've been claiming to be Americans. So that political paradigm is dying, and therefore the people will stop asking for equality in their own damn house and start asking for their house back. So therefore, it is important for them, and this is happening in many so-called corporate state marriage cases, where certain, because as a matter of fact, one I could tell you about myself, I can tell you about with somebody I know absolutely who's a Moor who happened to be in matrimony to a European sister, and the European sisters, and it's about 15 years ago or more in that area, and it's in Jersey. I'll just tell you that much. And she went for a divorce because he was not being the best guy, if you get the point. And the judge told her, and I'm telling you fact, the magistrate told her, do you know what that name you got? Are you serious? Divorce denied.
Really? Oh, you shared that?
Yes. I could tell you more, but it's other people's business. Why? Because the estate. Because that's another way that they get the estate, by marrying into it. And this is again why the Daughters of the American Revolution, that marble building you see in Washington, D.C.? Why do you think that that is the only organization that issues citizenship manuals? Do you think that's just happenstance? No. It's European daughters who can prove that they were descended from Moorish harems. That's a fact. And that manual is used all around the world and gives you all fundamental civics. How many of you ever heard of or seen the DAR manual? DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution. Another reason. So your question is apropos, and from a political perspective, that is their motive now. If they want to survive both physically and politically, that's part of it. That's why you see what you're saying. But those who know knew it was coming. Remember, Noble Drew Ali told you that they would come, that they'd be throwing their women at you. None of this stuff is news to those who know what's up.
Washington Tallman says, too late to try and amalgamate with our people. This hybrid experiment is over.
Well, doesn't Uranus and the sun say so also? Mm-hmm. Again, I said what I said for a purpose on multiple levels. But that's not to denigrate and that's not to condemn. It's just to observe. Mm-hmm. Also, for those of you who would do a further social political analysis of current events with that paradigm, that fake paradigm of color being continued, look at the different programs of the late programs where they had Asiatic Africans always doing black shows, what they call black shows. All kind of black shows.
Like the exploitation?
To promote the burial again. They don't know it's for burial.
What do you mean?
Whenever they create these shows, they talk about black this and black that, black this, and they do movies and shows, it's for burial. It's estate burial. Those who can read, is go orthography. I'm telling you. See, a being who can read can see it. A being who can't read can't see it because they don't know the Edamon. They don't have a third grade Edamon degree. They don't even have a third grade Edamon degree. So you can put something in their face and it's a contract and they'll sign it. You tell them that you're going to kill you next week on Thursday. They say, oh, wow, I'm getting free credit. And so I'm telling you, what they said in that philosophy page, they meant it. The war is so beautiful, the attack is so effective that they call it beautiful.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
The attack of the priest by the priesthood is so well grounded and clever and deceitful, great deceiver, that they called it beautiful. Beautiful. And called it a task. Beautiful task.
The task we set before ourselves is very simple as well as a very
and so that's a missionary work, isn't it? It's a task. Mm-hmm. And they have what? Achieved their ends to a degree. But Uranus and Saturn got something else to say about that. Don't mean they didn't have fun for a while. Have fun. All they did was do what? They dug a lot of holes to bury a lot of people. They dug so many holes, they're backing into them. Put that way too, also. But you all already know what that reap what you sow means.
you mean by looking up the McDonald's lawsuit. So they said look up the McDonald's lawsuit. But
I can't hear you.
Someone was saying to look up the McDonald's lawsuit. I don't know which lawsuit that is.
Oh, so now they know where Roe versus Wade has really been serving over these decades. You know, these people haven't figured out how all these burger joints have popped up on every other within less than a mile of each other with multiple brands and how they can keep high stock. And yet children kept disappearing. And women, for the sake of, what do they call it? Women's liberation, have been helping in the genocide operation of getting rid of their own offspring, and turn around, didn't know they were eating them also. Yeah, go look up that lawsuit. That's going to tell you a lot too. What we've been telling you for years that many of you probably didn't believe. Oh, by the way, they're going to be closing a lot of stores this year. Burger joints. Oh. You know, that years ago, this hybrid European, she used to come on, where's the beef? People didn't know that the beef was actually people. Animal husbandry. You don't know that the farm is also the community. Farming humans. This stuff is far deeper than you thought it was, and it's more uncomfortable than you thought it was. However, with temperance, take the information as you get it and turn it into energy to make this place a better place for humanity. Help those who are helping you. Is there any others?
Negam Bay Muxing Ali says history says 3% of the people fight and make change. Then those who fear to fight come out. When victory is assured, we deal with fear.
It's called the hunter's monkey theory, but it ain't a theory. But I'll say this much. Within the next few years, you won't have to worry about most of these institutions that you've gotten used to coming back, because most of them have run their course and will not only not come back, you will find that most of them were not even necessary in the first place, and they were actually part of the feeder programming. Now remember what I said to you, feeder programming. They haven't told you that publicly yet, but you're going to be hearing about it probably in the next year or maybe. I don't know. Somebody will start telling you.
What was?
Feeder programs where you've been actually, for generations, been prepared as a food source on more levels than you thought. So when you read that philosophy page, you need to read it again and read between the lines.
Let me see. I got any question. Here's a question, I think. Oh, here Mo West says, I heard y'all say Mexicans are Moors, but I look more Albion.
So? On Albion's amalgamated Moors? What's up with that? Is Mexico Al-Moroccan? See, what people keep getting mixed up, they keep saying the hybrid is American, but then they turn around and act like Mexicans aren't Americans. So now they call somebody who's not American, and then try to deny the Al-Moroccan pedigree to Aboriginal people. Mexicans are Aboriginal indigenous to this land. They are Al-Moroccan. They are descendants of Moroccans. Al-Moroccan is American. Come off it. Wake up. We're still doing a wake up. This is back to our earlier conversation. We're still in the process of still waking people up. It hasn't dawned on them yet really what's going on. Some of us are still hooked into the mind control programming. What do you think Olmec is? Olmec is Older Mexum. Get over it. Y'all need to grow up. But again, like I said before, this stuff is going to be happening so fast now, and so many institutions that have kept the people asleep, dumb, and distracted are being destroyed at such a rate that is being just poured out to you a little bit so you can handle it. But if you really saw what's going on behind the scene, most of you mentally wouldn't be able to handle it. That's why we've been telling you for years, some of the things that we've been doing with you or speaking to you about are really for mental exercises to prepare you for other things that were quickly going to be coming upon you. Likewise, get prepared for some more stuff.
Sometimes, when you're going through a detox, well, most times,
that's what it is.
When you're going through a detoxification process, that Herkimer effect is you feel worse before you can feel better. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what we're going to go for. And for some,
no, not that's
some what we're going through. Won't survive it. Some will break down. They think that it's the end. But
that's again part of the caring for humanity, because if there wasn't love here for humanity, this stuff would just be blown out, and half of them be already gone. Even the fact that the hybrids also know that, which is really why they accelerated their kill machines on multi-level, but it was interrupted. People need to know a lot of things that this hybrid had already planned and initiated. He was interrupted. It wasn't that it wasn't already on the path. It wasn't that it wasn't rolled out. He was interrupted. However, it's like you can do what you can to aid and to support people in upliftment, but you can't make them want to be uplifted. Because at some point, nature takes over, and nature decides whether something has respect for its origin or not. All things that have no bond or honor to their origin, nature is going to find a way to get rid of it anyway. So this is an opportunity for those, like when you look at, and this is back to where the metaphor comes into what you would call a metaphysical reality, from the above to the below. So metaphysics is actually hex alpha. Metaphysics is the metaphysical operation that people try to make you think is totally separate. That which is above, so shall it be below. Therefore, those of you who really comprehend what's up will turn your hearts back to your ancient mothers and fathers, or experience the curse that's on Midgard, and you will be reaped by your own choice. So don't blame nobody else, and don't say that you haven't been told, because you have, and don't pretend you don't comprehend or understand, because you really do. That's not a judgment. That's just observational statement. Because the Son of Righteousness has arrived. They can call justice Jesus. They can call it Muhammad. They can call it Zakrib. They can call it Musa. Call it what you will. It's a recurring energy.
Roxy, forgive me, I can't get all your appellation in, wants to know where we can get a DAR manual. I know you can't really, they're not readily available, or are they two people, or are they? I know you had one.
Most people who've been traveling if you know some people that come from other political jurisdictions, the test that they take when they get a green card is from a DAR manual, just in case you didn't know that. Now, and because, but what they've done for the most part, when they have people coming from different areas, they will do a verbal civic test and questioning, etc. That's because most of the government platforms have been corrupted and colored and are prima facie. But the Daughters of American Revolution is on Washington, D.C., is the DAR manual. And as a matter of fact, Brother Lamont has been actually teaching constitutional enforcement classes via the DAR manual. And of course, you already know I gave Tamara a DAR
Right.
manual for her to share it with people. It's sort of like DAR manuals should be in all your little civic groups because that's standard principles of citizenship and national principles. Universal, coming from Muslim law. And for those who are less familiar, Dolly Madison, you'll see her clothes. They even have her clothes on display, including her turban at Washington, D.C. It's never been a secret. You can't get in there now because they're locking that stuff down. Because that whole foreign territory is being fenced in. It's a political territorial issue. Now you're talking about territorial jurisdiction for absolute real. Now see how as things have passed, they're being forced to do certain things that are very uncomfortable for the public, but the general public still have no idea what's really going on, and yet it's blatantly in their faces, including the POW wired inward arch fencing with barbed wire around the White House, and people still ain't caught on what the signal is.
Here's a question though. Bantu Mandigo said, "Well, isn't Black Law's dictionary dead?"
Say it again.
Asking if Black's Law dictionary is dead, or stating, isn't it dead?
Dead.
I don't know what they mean by that.
I don't know.
Or are they saying like of no use?
Henry Campbell Black happened to be a translator, so he's one of the major author translators. But the principles of jurisprudence are ancient and modern. So, I don't comprehend the question.
It's not. Can Aduke ask? Can they make Washington D.C. a state?
No, it's a territory under Rome, under the Roman jurisdiction. From a political perspective, it would be called a foreign territorial outpost. That's a political fact.
He says that's what it's going to become.
No, that's what it is, and that's what it's been. That's what it was. Right now, it's in what you call war powers captivity. That's what defense represents. And that's what defense actually is, not so much what it represents. That means there's an act of war going on. The public's not being told bluntly what's going on. I'm telling you what's happening. Part of what's happening. I haven't told you all that's happening. I told you part. This is again why people in Washington that are domiciled in that area couldn't vote, because it's not a part of the legitimate republic union of states or states united. So they are by fact not in any form what you would call citizens of the republic. They're actually would be under the jurisdictional powers of Rome.
Here's a question. Do we have 2 presidents now?
You got a president for the republic, which is being reinstated, which is Nassar and Gassar that you talked about earlier, and his name is Donald Trump. And you have a president of the failed and bankrupt foreign corporation under war powers operations under military guard known as Joseph Biden in a cloned protege puppet.
Okay. Jeff says, I recently heard a theory that wicked Moors who never fell from power are really running the world from behind the scenes using the hybrid Europeans as a front. Is there any truth to this?
There's always some truth to that. Not total, but it is some truth. Then you also have some, what you would say, off Midgard worlders who have been part of this crap.
Hmm. Someone wanted to know, is the White House shut down?
Like, really?
Sherman Story
It's
says,
under war powers and military operations under war powers. It's just not being told in the mainstream media, which you already understand, because the dark priesthood still controls the mainstream media.
Charmaine Stewart says the post office has POW flags at half-mast.
Distinguished
Why?
Postal Service. Keep that in mind.
Why? The question was, why?
Why they have not what?
Why do they have POW flags at half-mast?
Again, war powers under military operations. For many of you, how many of you have noticed that many of your local post offices, that when you went there to get money orders, that they did not issue money orders and they sent you to a main office? Did any of you pay attention to that? They're not allowed to take any finance for no money orders. I'm just throwing something out there for you to look at.
We're at the
Again, things are occurring right in front of the people, but the people are being distracted by other things. You know what I mean, Dr. J?
Yes. I do know. I know every now and then we look at mainstream on YouTube just to see what narrative they're putting out.
Mm-hmm.
Just like we looked at that and picked out the obvious, like that's not logical. You know, it's not that lax. And even the people on guard, they look like they look like rent-a cops, or rent-a not cops, but rent-a secret,
well,
and put them in service.
You notice that none of them are wearing uniforms with
they're slovenly
flags on it,
and they're slovenly looking. They look like if they had to run somewhere, they couldn't run. You know, to the
now you already know. You know what it is, and you know what it was before it even became public.
It's a joke.
The deal of it is, much of this stuff is a show for the public to keep you preoccupied on 2 fronts. One, to limit what you call disruption, social disruption, and 2, while things are being put in place to take the place of some of these institutions that will be dismantled in both the educational format and in the economic format. So keep that in mind, you all. But anyway, I appreciate you all sharing with us again, and also recognize why I chose the title, A Metaphysical Analysis of Chapter 1 of the Circle 7 Quran, because it is metaphysical, i.e. metaphysical, etc. So anyway, so please support the House of Reawakening Minds. You can do that support via PayPal. You can do that support via Cash App, or checks and money orders and they will be payable to the House of Reawakening Minds and sent to 602 Vandiver Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, Republic, 19802. So thank you very much for sharing with us, etc. And also for those of you, make sure that you subscribe, help you to subscribe. And so Dr. G's, you already know, has a new YouTube channel. It's called Dr. G's Official.
Dr. G is official.
Dr. G is official. So that's capital DR, capital GIS, capital OFFICIAL. So that's YouTube requires at least 1,000 subscribers in order for the channel to go live. And so go and subscribe and help that out, because you know she's going to be bringing a lot of. We have actually a lot of people calling, even from other hot channels, that are going to come on Dr. G's, and so she's setting up this channel to make that available to you. And so subscribe, and it'll be linked down at the bottom. So check out on your screen.
You just have to
and look at that link. And so subscribe to Dr. G's new YouTube channel. Dr. G is official, and that's it in one word, etc. And subscribe. And thank you for your support for the House of Reawakening Minds. And so many of you from around the world have been supporting, and we appreciate you. And many of you have come on and have not. We appreciate you too. You know, and business person being claiming to have taxing authority at all, whether it's a penny or whether it's more than a penny, the principle remains the same. If there is no counter or rebuttal to their position, which it has not been, particularly with our people, and particularly with many people among our people who have been involving the lives of our people in organizations, clubs, institutions, whether they're religious, political, etc., that have not informed them of these fundamentals. The evidence is self-evident once you have a concept of what we're talking about tonight, that there are two things: disingenuous or incompetent, or a combination of the two. And the fact of the matter is, when someone is in a position of authority or in a position of scholarly leadership, keep this in mind, that ignorance of these principles are no excuse and are never to be excused. However, because over the generations they have been excused, because they're usually hiding behind words that we respect, such as Buddha, Confucius, Allah, Muhammad, Jesus, etc. And our people get starry-eyed and not thinking that these people are really parasitic in their operations with you, distinguished from actually serving you or helping you in any manner. So a bill of particulars is one nature of writ, which should be standardized in all communities, and particularly in the Aboriginal communities of Moors, who have been falsely tagged and with nom de guerre, such as Negro, black, colored, etc. All of those are nom de guerre. Keep that in mind. And nom de guerre are essentially what is also known in the vernacular of servitude as slave, and that's connotative, slave tags or brands. And because many of our people have not been schooled in basic etymology, those are basic grammatical skills, they're not aware that many of these things or words and terms that we have taken for granted were actually nom de guerre, and no one informed you. Meanwhile, many of these people who should have informed you are always talking about gods and devils every 2 minutes, and yet are void of basic elementary comprehension of operations of civilization that operate on this planet since time immemorial. And it's not to condemn or to knock or to negatively put down or criticize people who have been subjected to that mind control system. However, we cannot continue to sacrifice generations by not telling them the truth of how things actually have been operating, and so that their energies, their finances, their time, their services, and their honor can no longer be stolen and abused or misused by people claiming to be their so-called leaders or spiritual guides or preachers or imams or rabbis or etc., whatever titles of adeptship that they